Have you ever prayed in desperation, only to hear silence? What if that silence was Satan's trick to make you doubt God? Today, we're revealing 5 powerful prayers that changed lives forever, proof that God is always listening. Welcome to God or Satan, your beacon of hope in a dark world. In this video, you'll hear stories of miracles, healing, and victory over darkness that will inspire you to pray with unshakable faith. Stay until the end for 3 simple steps to make your prayers unstoppable. Ready to see God's power in action? Join our community, subscribe now, and let's dive into the first prayer that turned despair into a miracle. Number 5. A prayer for hope in the darkest hour. Meet John, a man who had lost it all. His job, gone after a sudden layoff. His savings, wiped out by mounting bills. His faith, barely a flicker, fading with every sleepless night. Alone in his small apartment, John felt like Satan was winning, whispering lies of despair that crushed his spirit. Have you ever been in a place where hope felt like a distant dream, where every door seemed slammed shut? John was there, drowning in darkness, wondering if God had forgotten him. But one night, at his absolute breaking point, John did something he hadn't done in years. He prayed. It wasn't a polished prayer, just a raw, desperate cry. God, if you're out there, please, give me a sign. Tears fell as he poured his heart out, not knowing if anyone was listening. But God was listening. And what happened next was nothing short of a miracle. The very next day, John's phone rang. A stranger, someone he'd never met, offered him a job opportunity, one he hadn't even applied for. It wasn't just a job, it was a lifeline, a new beginning that pulled him out of despair and set him on a path to recovery. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." John's simple, heartfelt prayer unlocked God's plan, proving that no darkness is too deep for God's light to break through. John's story shows us that God hears even the simplest prayers. When Satan whispers, "Give up," God says, "Hold on, I'm working." Have you ever prayed for a sign in your darkest moment? Share your story in the comments below. It might inspire someone else. Stay with us, because prayer number 4 is even more powerful and you won't want to miss it. Number 4. A prayer for healing through faith. Meet Sarah, a young mother who faced a diagnosis that turned her world upside down. A rare illness left her bedridden, with doctors saying she might never walk again. Pain and fear gripped her heart, and Satan whispered doubts. God won't help you. You're too far gone. Have you ever faced a moment where sickness or suffering made you question if God cares? Sarah knew that feeling, her hope fading with every hospital visit. But Sarah's family refused to give up. They gathered around her bedside, holding hands, and prayed with unshakable faith. They claimed James 5:15. The prayer offered in faith will make the sick person well. The Lord will raise them up. Day after day they prayed, not with perfect words, but with persistent belief that God could heal. Sarah joined them, whispering through her pain, "Lord, restore me, if it's your will." Satan's doubts were loud, but their faith was louder. Months later, something incredible happened. Sarah took her first steps, defying the doctor's predictions. Her recovery wasn't just a medical breakthrough. It was a miracle born of relentless prayer. James 5:15 came alive. God raised her up, proving that faith can move mountains, even when doubt feels overwhelming. Sarah's story teaches us that God's healing power flows through persistent prayer, not perfection. This miracle reminds us that God is the ultimate healer. When Satan sows doubt, choose faith and keep praying. Has prayer ever healed you or someone you know? Share your story in the comments. It could lift someone's spirit. Stay tuned because prayer number 3 will show you how to break free from Satan's chains. Number 3, a prayer for deliverance from Satan's chains. Meet Emily, a young woman trapped in the grip of addiction. For years, alcohol controlled her life, stealing her joy, her relationships, and her sense of worth. Every attempt to break free failed, and Satan's lies echoed in her mind. You're too weak. You'll never escape. Have you ever felt chained by something? Addiction, despair, or guilt that seemed impossible to overcome? Emily was there, lost in a cycle of shame and defeat. But one evening, at her lowest point, Emily found a spark of hope. A friend shared a verse that changed everything. Ephesians 6:12, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the spiritual forces of evil." Emily realized her battle wasn't just physical, it was spiritual. With trembling hands, she prayed, "Lord, break these chains. Set me free by your power." It wasn't a one-time fix, but that prayer marked the start of her fight back. Over the next year, Emily leaned on God's strength. She joined a supportive community, prayed daily, and clung to that verse. Slowly, the chains of addiction loosened. Today, she's free, living a life she never thought possible. Emily's story proves that Satan's lies are no match for God's power. When you pray for deliverance with faith, God can shatter any chain. This prayer teaches us to fight spiritual battles with spiritual weapons. When Satan traps you, pray with authority, and God will show up. What chains has God helped you break in your life? Share your story in the comments. It could give someone else the courage to keep fighting. Stay with us because prayer number 2 is a story of peace you won't want to miss. Number 2, a prayer for peace in the storm. Meet Michael, a man whose life felt like a hurricane. Work stress, family struggles, and constant worry kept him awake at night, his heart racing with anxiety. Satan's lies were relentless. You'll never find calm. Chaos is your life now. Have you ever been overwhelmed by a storm of worries where peace felt impossible? Michael was drowning in that storm, desperate for a moment of rest. One night, unable to sleep, Michael stumbled across a verse that became his lifeline. Philippians 4:6-7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts. Inspired, he prayed a simple prayer. Lord, I'm overwhelmed. Please fill me with your peace. He repeated it, surrendering his worries, trusting God to take control. Over time, something shifted. The storm didn't vanish. Bills still piled up, pressures lingered, but Michael's heart found calm. God's peace, like a shield, guarded him through the chaos. That prayer didn't change his circumstances, it changed him. Try this yourself. Lord, take my worries and give me your peace. Say it daily and watch God work. Michael's story shows that God's peace is stronger than any storm. When Satan stirs anxiety, prayer anchors you. When did prayer bring you peace in a tough moment? Share your story in the comments. It might encourage someone else. Stay with us because prayer number 1 is a powerful story of provision you won't want to miss. Number 1, a prayer for prosperity through trust. Meet Anna, a single mother struggling to make ends meet. With bills piling up and an empty pantry, she faced sleepless nights, haunted by Satan's whispers. You'll never have enough. God won't provide. Have you ever felt crushed by lack, wondering how you'll get through? Anna was there, her faith tested by every unpaid bill. One evening, exhausted and desperate, Anna turned to a verse that became her anchor. Psalm 23:1. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Clinging to those words, she prayed, God, I trust you to provide for me and my children. It was a simple prayer, but it carried unshakable trust. Anna surrendered her fears, believing God's promise over Satan's lies. Days later, a miracle unfolded. A local church, unaware of her struggles, sent her a check, enough to cover her bills and groceries. It wasn't a fortune, but it was exactly what she needed. Anna's prayer didn't bring riches, it brought God's provision, right on time. Her story shows that when we trust God, He meets our needs in ways we can't imagine. This prayer teaches us to silence Satan's lies of lack with trust in God's abundance. How has God provided for you in a tough moment? Share your story in the comments to inspire others. Stay with us for 3 simple steps to make your prayers powerful. These 5 prayers, from hope in darkness to provision in lack, show us one undeniable truth. God hears you, no matter how broken or lost you feel. John found a lifeline. Sarah walked again. Emily broke free. Michael found peace. And Anna saw provision. Each story proves that prayer isn't just words. It's a bridge to God's power, stronger than any lie Satan whispers. Have you felt that power in your own life? Think about it. When has God answered your prayer in a way you didn't expect? Here are 3 simple steps to make your prayers powerful starting today. First, pray with honesty. God doesn't need perfect words, just your heart, raw and real, like John's desperate cry. Second, use Scripture to guide you. Verses like Psalm 23:1 or Philippians 4:6-7 anchor your prayers in God's promises, just as they did for Anna and Michael. Third, trust God's timing. Sarah's healing took months, but God was working every step of the way. Try this prayer tonight. Lord, I trust you. Hear my heart and guide my path. Say it with faith and watch God move. If these stories touched you, join us on this journey at God or Satan. Become part of our community. Subscribe to catch every story of hope and faith. What's your prayer story? Share it in the comments below. Your testimony could light the way for someone else. And if you know someone who needs this hope, share this video with them. Let's spread God's love together. Stick around for our next video to discover how to defeat Satan's traps. See you there.